The Miami Dolphins are sitting at the 13th overall pick in this year's NFL Draft, and let's not sugarcoat it, this is a pivotal moment for the franchise. The choices made here will echo through the team's future, shaping whether they remain a fringe contender or finally break into the elite tier of the NFL. Opinions are flying in every direction, and the mock drafts are buzzing with names. The stakes? Sky high. There's no margin for error. ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. has Georgia safety Malaki Starks pegged as Miami's potential pick. Starks is widely regarded as the best safety in the draft, a player who could bring immediate impact to a secondary in flux. Javon Holland and Jordan Poyer, two anchors of the Dolphins' defensive backfield, are both entering free agency this offseason. That alone puts Miami in a precarious position. A player like Starks, who's versatile enough to line up as a traditional safety and cover slot receivers, could stabilize the defense. He's a proven playmaker, with 67 tackles this past season, and his ability to close gaps in coverage is exactly what Miami's defense thrives on. However, is drafting a safety this early in the first round the best use of their resources? The secondary was a strength in 2024, and while losing a free agent would hurt, could the Dolphins afford to wait and address other areas of need first? That's where the debate begins to heat up. Then there's Will Campbell from LSU, a name gaining traction in several mock drafts. Campbell is described as a steady, reliable offensive lineman who can play both guard and tackle. He started 38 games in Baton Rouge and allowed just 2 sacks over his career. That kind of durability and consistency is gold for a team like Miami, whose offensive line has been underwhelming for years. Tua Tagovailoa's health is always a lingering concern, and the Dolphins can't gamble on patchwork solutions any longer. Campbell isn't flashy, but he's the kind of player you plug in and don't have to think about again. He's versatile, he's consistent, and he's exactly what Miami needs to fortify an offensive line that has been a weak link for far too long. But here's the thing, does a steady, reliable guy move the needle enough? Is that the kind of pick that propels this team forward, or does it merely fill a hole? Kelvin Banks out of Texas is another name being floated. He's young, athletic, and has a high ceiling, a classic raw talent who could thrive in the right system. Banks has the flexibility to play tackle or guard, giving Miami options as they reshape the line. The front office has signaled an interest in getting younger and more athletic up front, and Banks fits that mold. However, the Dolphins need players who can contribute immediately, not projects who might take a year or two to develop. Can Banks be that guy? And if not, is it worth gambling on potential instead of locking in someone with more polish? Alabama's Tyler Booker is also in the conversation, a player who projects as a pure guard and offers a straightforward solution to Miami's interior line woes. Booker didn't allow a single sack last season and gave up just 9 pressures in over 350 pass-blocking snaps. That's the kind of production Miami could use to stabilize its offense. The interior of the line has been inconsistent, and Booker's skill set addresses that directly. Still, there's a lingering sense that drafting a guard this early is a conservative move, one that prioritizes stability over upside. Booker is solid, no doubt, but does he elevate the Dolphins in the way they need to be elevated? Another intriguing option is Armand Membou from Missouri, a player who has flown under the radar but could be a sleeper pick at 13. Membou played tackle in college but is expected to transition to guard at the next level. He allowed no sacks and just 9 hurries last season, earning recognition for his pass-blocking abilities. Miami's offensive line, which has been under fire for years, could use a player like Membou who offers both reliability and versatility. The challenge with Membou is whether he's ready to step in as a starter immediately. Miami doesn't have time to wait for someone to develop, they need contributors now. Can Membou be that guy, or would he be more of a depth piece in year one? All of this circles back to the fundamental question, what's the Dolphins' priority here? Do they address the offensive line, an area that's been a glaring issue for years? Do they double down on a strength by selecting a playmaker like Starks to bolster their already solid defense? The answer isn't clear-cut, and that's what makes this draft so fascinating. Miami has built a roster that's competitive, but not bulletproof. They've got stars, they've got potential, but they also have weaknesses that can't be ignored. The Dolphins are at a crossroads. Drafting for need versus drafting for value, this debate has played out in war rooms across the league for decades, and Miami is no exception. Chris Grier and his staff have to weigh the immediate impact of their pick against the long-term vision for this team. It's a delicate balancing act, one that will undoubtedly be scrutinized by fans and analysts alike. Every name being linked to Miami carries both promise and risk. Starks could be a game-changer, but is a safety worth the 13th pick when the offensive line is screaming for attention? Campbell and Booker offer stability up front, but will they be enough to elevate the offense as a whole? Mimbu and Banks bring upside and potential, but can the Dolphins afford to wait for them to develop? These decisions are the difference between a team that makes a playoff push and a team that goes one and done. The AFC is stacked with powerhouse franchises, and Miami doesn't have the luxury of patience. They need to hit on this pick, plain and simple. There's no room for error, no margin for miscalculation. Whatever direction they choose, it has to be the right one. Because in this league, close doesn't count. It's not about being competitive, it's about being dominant. The Dolphins can't afford anything less.